In 1970, an eccentric man named the Greek purchased 25 acres of a former chicken farm in Monroe Township, New Jersey, to operate his successful landscaping business as well as create Greek's Playland, an entertainment center for children with special needs. In later years, a stone museum and wedding venue were added to the sprawling property, which featured 3 banquet halls, 10 waterfalls, 3 Japanese bridges, a tiki room, tire maze, haunted house, mini golf, satellite dish driving range, a tank, helicopter, bike tower made out of 90 bicycles, and the world's tallest clown at 30 feet. For decades, children and their families were allowed to visit and experience everything completely free of charge. The Greek's Playland would find itself under constant harassment from township officials and upset neighbors, finally closing for good with the Greek's death in 2019. This amazingly unique roadside oddity would sit abandoned for over 5 years before it was finally demolished for townhouses. If you know Ruin Road, you know we value our privacy. But in our personal life, it's not always easy to maintain. Whether we know it or not, sites will mine our data like full name, email, health records, and more, which they will sell to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who wants to snoop. That's why we started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our personal information and automatically submits opt-out requests on our behalf. This not only reduces the amount of spam you'll get, but protects against hackers who can use this information to gain access to our social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also provides a ton of other features bundled into one easy-to-use app at an affordable price. You get antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without needing to bother with different apps. We all have one or more of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know how often that happens. Like 24-hour security, motion sensors, and guard dogs, Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping my info safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Relaxing. Ruin Road values our privacy, and we also value yours. Go to aura.com/ruinroad to start a free 2-week trial, also linked below in the description. The story of Spyro Drake is as fascinating as is his Playland. As a newborn, he was found abandoned in a coal bin and put into foster care. At a young age, he earned the nickname the Greek, which he kept.
And what is your name?
The Greek. First name is The, and last name is Greek. The Greek, yeah.
His foster mother took in 5 other children, 3 of which had learning disability, and Spyro witnessed firsthand the difficulties his siblings endured and the cruelty from others. And he made an oath to his foster mother that he would donate half of whatever money he made to charities.
They called me and said, Greek, come on home, Mom's gonna die. And I came home, and I said, Mom, what's wrong? She said, I'm ready for the boneyard. She said, I live my life, you know. But I made an oath to her that if I ever made money, I would build something in her memory.
At age 12, he began working for a plant nursery. But when the owner refused to give him a nickel raise when he turned 21, the Greek would take out a $500 loan and start his own landscaping business.
I had no education in this. In fact, I had a tough time getting through high school, you know? But when I was 12 years old, I had 3 paper routes, and I always worked, you know? But I didn't mind working because I knew that if I wanted something, I had to work for it. Nobody's going to give it to me.
By the 1960s, the Greek had become a millionaire, doing work for celebrities such as Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, and even author Judy Blume mentioned him in her novel, Wifey. It was at this time that he began to realize that most of the money he donated to charities were sucked up by administration costs. So the Greek got an idea. Purchasing this property, he would use it as a display center for his business, and 3 years later would open the Greek's Playland, with the idea it would be open in summer months as a totally free event venue for special needs or disadvantaged youths, making the entire place handicap accessible some 20 years before ADA regulations existed.
It's difficult to take something and make it barrier-free But if you know you're going to do this in the beginning, it's a piece of cake. So everything we did, we have big wide openings, big doors, for all the bathrooms, all wheelchair, you go anywhere, and then you don't even have to open a door to go into a bathroom.
So here's all their work they've done. While he was renowned for creating beautifully landscaped ponds and shrubbery for his clients, the Playland was built with whatever objects he could find, creating a strange and wonderful hodgepodge.
It's a lot of stuff that I took, nobody would take. You know, we got art sculptures and stuff like that. And beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And this is an old railroad bridge. See these beams? I got the George Washington Bridge when they were replacing it. They had these big sections of the bridge, 40 feet long, 12 feet wide, a foot thick, and they had them parked. They didn't know what to do with them, and put all these bins up, you know, so that worked out good. The tire park, I wanted something different. So I went to all these contractors, had these great big truck tires, which is always a problem to get rid of. And I said, you know, bring them over, because, you know, they had to pay to get rid of them, so. Then I wanted something for the kids also, and for the adults. The adults like it as much as kids, so I got an M60 tank and a Cobra helicopter. I wanted something where kids can come in, they can go swimming, they can go boating, they can play miniature golf, and they have a maze, and have a big tire park working in. Just a lot of things where you didn't have things that could go wrong. So it's something that would, you set it up and it'll last forever. And it had to be stuff that would hold up outside. Nothing where you need a mechanic to keep it running. You need something to start it up, yeah. So it was all stuff that they could do themselves. Everything here is waste. It's the most amazing. People see it and they say, like they see them, they're settling tanks. So I use them for bells, make great bells, you know.
Yeah, it was like a jungle trail. Oh, it was a mini golf. A covered mini golf. They probably had like 18 holes. Yeah, it just kind of ends right here. That's a nice red tree. This was a long ass hole. It goes all the way from there and all the way over there. Unless they just like, maybe they just didn't separate the things. Cause yeah, there's the tee off. And then there's 4, yeah, okay. So they just didn't, you could just continuously putt. All the way throughout. And back over. Somebody that's fallen too. This looks like a dude that was in a boat. The early years were noted as featuring a swimming pool, petting zoo, food stand, and offered pony, fire truck, and helicopter rides. But it was not an initial success. Almost everyone he reached out to believed he had some hidden agenda and did not take him up on his offer. So the Greek reached out to his famous business clients and asked them to spread the word. Within 3 years, the Playland held 80 events per season and had a waiting list. When bus drivers had difficulty finding the Playland, the Greek opened the park for a day to local police and their families so they would know how to give directions. In another instance, when a bus driver was too sick to drive kids to the event, the Greek got one of his drivers to bring them in, stating anyone who can drive a dump truck can drive a bus. Preferring to keep a low profile, it would not be until 1976 that the Greek would come to the public's eye, when township officials noted they were confused about his application to install a helipad on site, and an investigation was launched on how the park was built without the township's approval. They found they had little argument on its operation though, as it was not open to the public, and the Greeks stressed they were only providing a location for other groups, and they did not provide any staff to watch the children. But a string of bad luck would plague the park these next few years. First, in 1977, a horse from the Playland would escape and run in front of a vehicle out front at night, causing a father and his son to crash their car, but both escaped without injuries. 2 years later, a 10-year-old boy would drown in the pond here when his camp guardians did not pay attention he was listed as a non-swimmer. Greek also created the Energy Conservation of America, a computer system that audited businesses to find out how to cut their energy costs, but he would lose nearly $2 million on the venture by 1981. In order to continue operations, he wrote letters to 15 various millionaires, explaining the money would only be used for operating the free service. A single one of them gave him $200. Deciding to fund the park himself, the Greek would purchase an adjacent 37 acres and sell 100,000 cubic yards of soil to expand the lake on that property. But yet again, a judge barred him from further excavations, or to continue developing the land into a recreational park. The Stone Museum would open on site in 1992, curated and run by a Yale professor to teach the public about mineral history. The museum was open to the public, and local Boy Scout groups could earn a merit badge for visiting, with over 20,000 having attended. Though he would only sell an item if he had another one, he was now able to partially fund the park through the gift shop. And they had a shoe repair. All the shoes are still here. Not all of them, but wow, check this out. Yeah, you could just probably watch this dude repair shoes. All different. Here's the polish and stuff. Here's a color chart. Here's the thing to put it in there. Soles. This is the most intact thing in here. The shoe museum actually was a functional shoe shop at one time. When a local shoemaker store burned down, the Greek offered to let him have a shop here, which he operated until passing away. At that time, it became the museum. This was Monroe the dinosaur. He's actually made of an old construction hoe that was rigged up to growl and drool at the push of a button. Oh, look at that. They had so he could blow out smoke or something. Up there, yeah, here's a fan and stuff. Poor guy's jaw's missing. And then, yeah, they built him in there for support. By 1993, the Greek decided he would finally open the Playland to the public in order to keep it running, but his zoning change was denied when neighbors complained the road would become too busy, as well as reporting him to the utility company for storing things too close to gas lines. While the Stone Museum would remain open, Greek's Playland was forced to close that summer. 4 years later, a lightning strike would burn down the landscaping building and Stone Museum. Some 2,000 rare minerals and 48 exotic stones were lost in the blaze. Surveying the property after the fire, the Greek decided he would give his business and dream just one more shot. And within a year, volunteers and donations had rebuilt and restocked the Stone Museum. And by the new millennium, Greek's Playland would open yet again, now with all the proper permits. Oh, that does look like a person. Yeah, here's a little jungle gym type deal. And then here's where the parents could sit. Look at, they're made out of tires. They're horses that kids could ride on little swings. There's a whole little obstacle course. And then there's some more stuff. A little sailboat. And there's a metal sculpture made of bike tires and bikes. Several years later, the Greek came up with a new idea to self-fund the park, the Garden Falls wedding venue. He would create several venue halls and small islands for ceremonies, which would see couples from around the world travel here to say, "I do." Every single venue was designed so that while enclosed, it was open to give the feel of being surrounded by the outdoors. The wedding hall was so successful that a second venue was constructed to ensure enough revenue to keep the Playland and Stone Museum operational. But when he began work on the pole barn made out of telephone poles, he did so without permits, yet again drawing the wrath of the township. And aided by still upset neighbors, the entire operation was ordered closed, and was only able to rent small private functions while a 6-year legal battle would ensue. Yet again, the Greek prevailed, and in 2013, he was allowed to reopen. In 2016, planning began on the Bamboo Palace, a year-round banquet hall which the Greek envisioned as ensuring his vision would continue to operate long into the future. But the township would not approve his plans, and in 2019, the Greek would pass away. A memorial service was held at the Playland, and it was made available to the public per his wishes. But sadly, the Greek's Playland would not live long. The park would close for good, and a majority of the items were sold off that year. A fire in 2022 would ravage the landscaping buildings.
A look at these photos of a fire in Monroe. This is at the Stone Museum. It happened around 3 p.m. yesterday. Cause of that fire still under investigation. No reports of anyone getting hurt.
Finally, in 2025, the remaining buildings were bulldozed as work began on a residential development. Over its lifetime, it was estimated that over 800 events were held here for special needs and disadvantaged children, completely free of cost to them. Though legal red tape would quash his plans, the legacy of Greek's Playland and Stone Museum lives on through the lives he impacted.
Look at my clothes. 10 years old, cars 8, 9 years old. I have no jewelry. What do I need? My whole life this was my baby, so this can go on forever. I was offered $15 million for this property, 89 acres. Toll Brothers wanted it, Cara Holmes wanted it, Anatole Hiller, who was building, they all wanted it.
I'm very disappointed and upset with it because I feel the children need something as nice as this that you have here. This is a beautiful place.
You can't keep wanting something. You know, you can have everything in the world. If there's no people, what good is it? At one point, you have to be happy. If the Playland went on, that's all I want. God can have me the next day. So my whole life is for this.